Good to go. Here we are. I'm
Woo!
excited to bring our fifth episode of the Travel Chronicles. And introduction really is not needed, but I will anyways. For those of you who don't know Krista has been literally all over. And whoever I bring on after her probably will not come close to the number of travels. So I'm excited to introduce Krista Nelsen. How you doing, Krista?
Good. I am really ecstatic. Traveling is one of my favorite topics ever. So.
And it shows. It shows and it shows just who you are. So I'm excited to have you on. And I don't think I ever said thank you because I reached out to you a while ago about flight recommendations and different flight tools and stuff like that. So I'm still using some of those tools like Kayak and then the incognito button for Skyscanner, which I didn't know was a thing when we were in Spain. I knew Skyscanner, but I didn't know incognito.
Yeah, I just used that to book my trip to Alaska.
Oh, snap. Okay. So what's drawing you to Alaska? What are you going there for?
My cousin's getting married, and so we're making a vacation out of it up there.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And when are you going, if you don't mind me asking?
We're going right after 4th of July. So we leave the Thursday after 4th of July this year.
Awesome. And is this going to be a small, because of everything that's been going on, weddings have been a lot smaller. Is this going to be a smaller-esque wedding, or how is it going to be when you get down there?
I think it will be, but she was saying that everything's going to be set up outside, and they got a tent and everything. And it's at this resort lodge thing, and so I would think so. I'm not really sure.
Okay.
But I mean, most of my so it's my cousin that he moved up there, and most of our family's in Wisconsin, so probably not a lot of us are going up there. Only a few of us I know are for sure going. So it's probably mostly going to be most of her family up there. So I don't know how big her family is, but.
Cool. And have they told you about, so if it's July, if that's summer, it should be somewhat warmer, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
It'll be light all day.
Awesome. And being from Wisconsin, the cold to you is kind of you're a warrior at it, I assume.
Right. So. Yeah. Doesn't bother me. Like Elsa.
Like Elsa?
Like Elsa.
Like Elsa. That's awesome. So awesome. Well, thank you so much. I'm so excited to have you on. So let's start. And I always like to start off with origins, per se, what got you into traveling. And of course, because you've been all over, it has to start somewhere. So can you recollect the first place that you traveled to and what got you there?
First place and many times was Canada with my family. We do hunting and fishing trips up there. We used to go twice a year. And then as I got older, I don't know, prices got more or higher, I mean. So we started going moose hunting up there. So that's where traveling kind of started. And my parents would also take me all over the US. And I remember traveling to Idaho to go bear hunting, but I was too young. So I was just hanging with my mom most of the time. Basically, my parents just traveling all over the US and going to Canada all the time.
Okay. And hunting, so has that always been a thing in the family to go hunting?
Yeah, oh yes, for sure. Sweet. We make it a holiday for deer hunting.
So tell me about that. Educate me on that a little bit. So when is hunting season? When you go hunting, what are you bringing with you? I'm intrigued because I see the shows on Animal Planet or stuff like that with hunters, but I don't know anything about it. So I'm excited to hear about what's hunting like for you and your family.
Well, it really depends on what you're hunting. And so the seasons change. So turkey is usually in spring, and then deer hunting is November. So it starts the weekend before Thanksgiving and goes until the weekend after Thanksgiving. And then there's muzzleloader gun hunting season. And then also there's youth hunt before regular hunt, so the youth can get their deer. And then there's also doe hunt in December. So it just really depends. So what we would do for moose hunting is just drive around in the old logger paths and just sit in the truck and wait for moose to come out. But kind of the same thing with deer hunting. You sit in your stand, you walk out in the morning, and we sit out all day the first 2 days, so opening weekend. And then if we can hunt the rest of the week or the next weekend, probably just the morning or the afternoon. If you're going like pheasant hunting, which we call Canadian chickens, you just walk down a wooded path and just shoot at it when you see one. And they're kind of dumb, so they don't move when you're walking, which is kind of funny, but like everything else you got to be quiet about. It just depends. And most of the hunting I do, you need to wear orange because it's cold, and you need to be wearing orange while you're hunting. If you're bow hunting, most people just wear camo and they sit in the tree because then you're more hidden, and those are usually typically in the warmer seasons, but I've never gone bow hunting, though I want to.
Right.
And yeah, turkey hunting, I went earlier last year actually. We didn't see anything, but we just kind of went in our like some warm clothes because it was a little cold out. We just sat in the blind. And then duck hunting, which I've never been duck hunting, but you just go on the boat, and you can go on the boat. Even the same with goose. You can just go out on your duck boat, or you can sit in a duck blind and just wait for them to fly over. Typical for those, you want a dog that can go fetch the birds for you.
Okay. Sweet.
Yeah.
So this is if I ever go to Canada and I enter into the hunting world for some reason, then I can just watch this video back and be like, okay.
Or if you go to Wisconsin to hunt.
Oh, Wisconsin. I can do it. Now, have you hunted more in Wisconsin or more in Canada?
Probably. At my age, I would say it's a tie.
Okay.
But you have to be 16 to hunt in Canada, but I would still go with my dad when I was younger. And of course, I would probably say Wisconsin, actually.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah, because that one we do for sure every year. So that one I've been doing. Well, I took hunter safety when I was 12, and now you can do it when you're 10. So lucky little. No, I was like, what? That's rude. Because I had to wait till I was 12.
Awesome. Well, I just wanted to pick your brain on that because I think that's cool. So
Yeah.
that's something that stands out. In addition to also everywhere you've been. So going off of hunting, I appreciate that. Thank you for having me learn about that world. I'm now intrigued to learn about everywhere in the world you've been in to an extent. So let's start off with your first study abroad trip. So you go to college, go to University of Wisconsin, Stevens Point, and did that desire of wanting to go abroad come from just traveling with the family? Was there a moment in college that made you say, "Oh, I'm going to go to Ireland," or where did that spark come from to take that first step to go there?
I knew for sure in high school that I wanted to study abroad because, well, my first big trip was when I was 10, and I went to Italy and Greece with people to people. And that really sparked my interest in traveling all over the world. And then when I was in high school, I did every trip possible that I could. I went to Spain for the first time my sophomore year with like spring break with all of my Spanish club members, I guess. I don't think we're all in Spanish club. You could just go if you wanted to, if you were in Spanish too. And then my junior year, I went to Florida. And then my senior year, I went to Boston. Well, we also went to Salem, so you could kind of say Massachusetts, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I knew I loved traveling. I knew I wanted to do more in high school. I think I found out you could study abroad, and I was like, I need to do that. So pretty much where it came from.
Awesome. And what made you choose Ireland specifically?
Ireland. Well, I was going to some study abroad fairs, and there were some places I wanted to go to, but they were more for like other types of majors where you had like specific majors in mind, and none of mine were it because I was majoring in math and Spanish, which are very different. Not like I want to say social studies, but where what did Christy major in, or did she want to major in?
I think it was elementary education.
But then she wanted to major in something else, and she changed her mind.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It was in your podcast. I watched it.
What did she talk about that?
I think so. Like people studies or something like that. International studies.
International studies of human services or something like that.
Yeah, that. Yeah, so it's like that. That took a long time to get there. like lots of majors like that. But at the study abroad fair, I went to the Ireland booth, and they're like, you can literally take whatever classes you want. And I was like, do they have Spanish classes? And they're like, yeah, you can take whatever. And I was like, well, I can still work on my math and Spanish major while I'm over there. So I think that's really why I chose it. And they just talked about like how they have this group and stuff, and it sounded really fun. So just by going to the fair, the study abroad fair.
Sweet. And so do you remember exactly when you went? Like sophomore semester, junior semester?
It was 2016. I started, I think it was my first semester as a junior.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah.
So you end up going, and you were there for about 4-ish months. Is that correct? Or is it
4.5? Yep.
4.5. All right. And how was that? So I haven't been to Ireland yet, and I know a bunch of people who have been, but I think you're one of the only few I know have been there. So describe some of the culture shocks that you experienced when you were there, living situation, and what stood out to you the most about being in Ireland compared to being in Wisconsin.
Ireland, it's green all the time, even in winter. It's just green. I was like, there's no snow, and it's like winter is like even more green because it's raining all the time. So that was the biggest thing, is how green it was, especially in winter, because we went in January. I was like, everything is so green. Like it's the middle of winter.
It's all just so. Does that include like mountains, like grass, like everything's just so beautiful and green?
Not the mountains. And there's some like rocky areas, but pretty much everything else is just green. So
okay.
Okay. Basically.
That reminds me of like did you get to go to Morocco? Chef Shawan?
Yes.
Yeah, I did. So I'm thinking of like how everything was blue. Like everything was blue in Chef Shawan.
Well, yeah, kind of like that, but not everything was blue there, so just imagine more. And that's Ireland with green.
Wow. I love it. And tell me about exactly where you stayed, so like city and university. Talk about the city you stayed in and describe to me the university you were at.
Yeah, I went to college in Limerick at the University of Limerick. They're kind of famous for their moving bridge. It's a very long bridge over the river, and it moves, so it's kind of scary to walk on at first, but it's not very noticeable until the middle, kind of. So that's a fun fact about the campus. But I stayed in an apartment with it was five other study abroad students. 2 of them were from New York, 1 was from California, 1 was from Nebraska, and 1 was from Minnesota.
Okay, look at that.
So it's kind of nice. It's kind of like a nice little piece of home in Ireland, I guess, but their cultures were also very different. So probably the Minnesota and Nebraska person understood me the most, and then everyone else was just like, you're out of this world, because I talked about hunting and they didn't understand my accent, and it was fun.
So what kind of accent per se would you technically have? I never viewed you as like somebody that had an accent technically. So
I have a Wisconsin accent.
Okay.
You can hear when I say Wisconsin. We all say it. Well, mine's not as bad as like the redneck people. Like you would think of someone from like the UP. Like you'll get people talking like that here, but not as much. But we overpronounce our vowels. if you ever pay attention. And my New York roommates noticed that a lot. And one of my roommates' name was Maggie. And she told me, I was like, I hate when you say my name. It's not Maggie, it's Maggie. And I really had to think about that because it's really hard. Because you hear the difference, because she was like, you need to call me Maggie. And I'm like, but your name's Maggie. What are you talking about?
I'm just saying what it is. Okay.
Or like when I said wagon, I don't know how the California person said it, but they're like, you say wagon weird. I'm like, it's wagon. What do you mean? Oh, maybe it's like wagon. I can't do it. Yeah, it was wagon. I really have to like think about that.
Some people get offended. They really do. Some people don't understand.
I can understand Maggie because it was her name. I tried. I really tried. I was like, this is really hard. I'm working on it. It took me a while.
Just give me time. There was a word I remember. I think Christy would say it. How do you say roof? Is it rough?
Yeah, rough.
Yes, rough. Okay, so that threw me off because I think we were talking about like something on a roof, and I remember she kept saying rough, and I was like, "What are you talking about?" And she's like, "The rough." I was like, "What are you talking about?" So I remember that was one thing. I think that was the only thing when it came to like Wisconsin accent. I loved it. That was a funny moment. But okay, outside of that, I didn't realize there were other things, like other accent parts. So that's
You're actually saying like rough, like how a dog says it. It's rough.
It's rough.
But yeah.
Roof.
No. Close enough.
Right. So, okay. Well, learning. My favorite parts about these podcasts are learning like the small important things in life that I need to know. That now I do know.
Different cultures across different states. That's one thing I've learned from meeting a lot of people while I'm traveling.
And do you know off the top of your head how many states you've been to?
No, because a lot of them were when I was a baby. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they would count, but I've been to quite a few growing up, being like older, like obviously like Minnesota, Illinois, Michigan, passing through states, getting to other ones, mm-hmm. New York, Massachusetts, Florida. The only ones I really haven't been to is I've never been to the West Coast.
Okay. Except
for Idaho, but that's not really the coast, but in Wyoming, I know that one because that one's where Yellowstone is, I believe, if I'm correct.
Possibly. Iowa automatically linked into my head when I thought of Yellowstone, but it could be Wyoming.
Iowa, no.
Is it not? I could be very wrong. I could be very wrong.
Pull it really quick.
Please do, because I'm curious.
I'm pretty sure it's Wyoming. Feel like we should know this, but
we should. Both of us especially, but
yeah, it's Wyoming. I was right.
Yellowstone. I don't know why I thought Iowa. Well, I'm happy you were right. As long as one of us is right, that's all that matters.
Iowa has nothing. It's all cornfields.
Oh, okay. That's good. And you've been there? You've been there too?
I guess I've passed through it. There's really nowhere to go that I know of in Iowa because it's all cornfields. But
all cornfields. I love it. So that's amazing. So you not only outside of the country but within the country too. You go to Ireland, Limerick. You have this phenomenal experience, and then you come back. And you mentioned right before we hopped on that you had that semester in between. So were there plans to do the next trip you did, which was Spain, or did that just organically, nonchalantly happen, per se?
No, I knew I needed to go to Spain to better my Spanish. So I don't really know where it came from that I decided to do 2 study abroads. I think I just knew I wanted to do 2. I don't know. I wanted to do as much as I could, but I don't know. I think I went to the fair to check out Spain.
Mm-hmm.
That was so long ago, that fair. I don't really remember exactly, but I probably went there to check out the Spanish ones. And then I looked at the other ones, and Ireland, I think I just kind of decided, I don't know. But The Spanish one was definitely more on my forefront, so I think the Ireland one just kind of happened.
Okay, so that was the more organic one, where like you go to the fair and then you come back, and because you're studying it technically, so it's part of what you're doing. Okay,
Yeah.
So what made you choose Valladolid? Were there options in other places to go in Spain, or did Valladolid stand out for a specific reason?
Nope, that's the only option we had.
Oh,
The
okay.
other option was to go to Mexico and Oaxaca, but that was for during the summer, and I was like, that's when I make all my money. So I was like, oh, I'd rather go to Mexico, but because I've already been to Spain. But I don't regret choosing to go to Spain again, because then I got to go to more European countries.
For sure. And wow, I feel like you were always traveling. I remember in Spain, like almost every weekend you were on.
I knew Ireland. I traveled more of Ireland. I did go to a few other countries. Like I went to Scotland while I was over there, but that's not really a country per se. It's part of the UK. I did. Oh, that's when I did that week-long WSA trip to Czech Republic, Poland, Germany, and I'm having a blank on the other one. I'm driving through Slovakia, I remember.
Poland?
Yep.
Poland?
I said Poland, Czech Republic, Poland.
Hungary,
yep. You knew it, Hungary. Pretty sure I did that trip there. So I went to quite a few countries on spring break, but I mostly traveled in Ireland there. So like once I got my feet wet and going to other places by myself, I knew when I went to Spain, I wanted to go somewhere every weekend, and I knew what I was doing. And so it was just much easier. And then I also had a travel companion the whole time with me, so that was really nice.
That's awesome. That's great. And so tell me about what your experience was like when at the Universidad de Valladolid. Like, how was that individual experience for you? How was your Spanish when you got there? Being a Spanish major, of course, there has to be that level of competency, but how was it for you? How was it when you got there, being in that university?
It was different. It wasn't really what I was expecting. It was super easy, which was really nice, because then I could get my homework done really fast. Like we were really only focusing on Spanish. It was really nice. I was a little upset that I got a lower. I was in like level 2, but I understood why, because for whatever reason, I thought that I needed to get like my base credits done like right before I went to Ireland. So I skipped a semester of like math and Spanish to get my base credits done. Horrible idea. Don't ever do that. If you're learning math or Spanish, you need to continually do it. And I think I ended up not needing it. And my advisor I don't think he was very helpful to me, and so in Ireland, I took a Spanish class there, and they're like, you're really not good. I'm like, I took a semester off. I forgot everything. And plus with the summer in between, so like I had summer, I wasn't learning anything, and then that whole semester, and then I went to Ireland and took my Spanish class, and I was like, oh gosh. And even the math class I took over there, and that was really hard. So then, of course, in Spain, I needed to get back up to par, so I was in a lower class, but it was easy. I still learned a lot.
Okay. And would you be allowed to debate what your level was when they gave that to you, or was this is what you have, this is what we think you are at, work with it?
No, we just took a test and we found out what level we were when we got there. So okay. Well, at least I'm not level 1, I guess. But even the level 1s learned a lot, so.
Sweet. And so every weekend you're traveling. I remember, like, if I saw you, I was like, oh my gosh, she's here. she's not traveling. So let's talk about some places that stood out to you, not just in Spain, but also throughout your travels in that specific semester, because that's the semester that I met you, and I know you were all over that semester. So can you name off the top of your head your favorite place that you visited, or the place that shocked you and wowed you the most while you were in Europe?
Norway.
Okay.
Norway.
Yeah. Let's talk about that, and let's go in depth. Let's go in depth with this one. Out of everywhere that you've been so far, like what gave Norway that distinction?
Um, why was it so spectacular?
Yeah. Why was that your Why was that your
Okay.
favorite? Yeah, why was that your favorite? Yeah.
It was really a dream trip. It was definitely the most expensive one I did while I was over there. The flights were definitely not $40. And we stayed at a hotel, but the hotel was really nice and we got like a giant breakfast, so that was really good. But it's just so beautiful over there. Like you think Ireland's all green, everything over there is white. But we did go in the winter, so that would make sense. And we went while everyone else went somewhere warmer because it was carnival. We went to Norway instead. But yeah, you saw the Northern Lights, and that is definitely an experience you need to do it because it's just it the lights literally dance, and I was just smiling the whole time. It was so much fun. It was so beautiful. There was mountains everywhere. There's snow everywhere. Like I would just jump in snow and be up to here on me. I'd be like, ah. It was really cold though, but they had really nice hot showers wherever I went, so that was really nice.
Awesome.
It was just
How many days were you there?
3.
3.
Mhm.
Awesome. And so for the Northern Lights, tell me about how that process went. Of course, you just don't go there and then like you find it. How did you like have like a tour group or something, or was there an itinerary that you looked up? How did you end up getting to the Northern Lights, and where did you see it exactly?
Yeah, so we did do a tour the first night, but it was cloudy, unfortunately. So,
Mhm.
but we got to see the lights through the clouds because they were strong that night, thankfully. But the next night, like we weren't on a tour, and yes, you can see them without a tour. The
Mhm.
tour just helps you see them in a more remote place where there's no lights, which is still really cool, and you
Mhm.
can get your picture taken. But we were on top of a mountain, just checking it out, kind of walking and like looking at the island city that we were looking at. It was really pretty at night. And we noticed that some people were just looking outside. And then one of my friends decided to go look outside and they're like, come here, guys. And I was like, it's the Northern Lights. And you could see them clearly and beautifully, even with like the lights of the city like right below us. It was crazy.
Oh man, uh,
Yeah.
that was one of the things I really wanted to do. I just never happened. I just didn't do it. But it sounds like it was the best thing
I
for you.
mean, I had already done a lot of the big things by the time I had gone to Spain. So I was ready to do other parts of Europe. So it makes sense if you want to do like Italy and what's another one? Paris and stuff like that, which I did those too while I was traveling in Spain because I didn't really do them in Ireland. But
Hmm. Awesome. And when you were in Norway, do you remember? So when you did all your traveling, like place
mhm.
wise, did you stay at Airbnbs, or do you remember how like prepping per se when you were like doing your prep and like where you stayed at? Would you stay at Airbnbs to save money, and would you do your research on the best ones? And how would that go into your prep, like the places you stayed and stuff like that?
Yeah, so I did a lot of WSA trips, but at the same time, if I wanted to go somewhere that didn't have a WSA trip, we would just book a hostel and we would try to go with the cheapest one, but with one that wasn't like extremely cheap, like $10 or $15, but like around the $20 to $30 range, where we made sure it had Wi-Fi and it looked kind of decent. So we just look at the hostel, and if it looked good, we would book it. Norway, we stayed in a hotel. I don't think I could really find any hostels in Norway, so or like I think it we somehow booked it with the Northern Lights tour, I think.
Hmm.
I can't remember that exactly, but I'm glad we got a hotel because it was the warm shower at the end of the day was really good.
Hmm.
But otherwise, if I did a trip with WSA, they had hostels. They would book the hostels for us, which is really nice. And then, there was only one time I stayed at an Airbnb over there, and that was just like a random trip somewhere in Spain. And it was like way in the middle of nowhere, like way outside of the city. We had to like walk forever. So I don't suggest doing Airbnbs unless it's like in the city center area.
Gotcha, for sure. And wow, I like really want to go to Norway now, just because of
You should. I would live there. That's how much
really.
I I would live there. Yeah.
Oh my God. Was there anything else in Norway that like just blew you away? Of course, the Northern Lights does that in itself, but when I think of like if I'm Krista Nelsen and I've been all these places, it has to be something massive that makes the one place stand out of Norway. So was there anything else in particular? Was it just in general the experience, like who you were with and everything in general that you saw?
The other thing was dog sledding. That was so much fun.
Oh,
It just came really naturally to me. And just the people were nice and they weren't mad at you for coming up to them to speak English. Like it was really nice and pretty. And just the whole experience was amazing.
okay. I know where I'm going now as soon as this pandemic's over. that'll be
I need to
that'll
go
be
back in the spring or summertime where everything looks more green there.
And so how was it weather-wise when you were there? Like when I think of Norway, like north, I think of like cold. Like how was it like weather-wise?
It was freezing. I was in the Arctic Circle. So it was really cold. And I was like, I'll be fine. But I think it was below freezing. But I was like, these aren't much different than the temperatures in Wisconsin. I'll be fine. But I had been staying in Spain for a little bit where it was warmer. And I didn't like have proper winter gear. So I was wearing leggings and my little Spanish coat. But they had winter gear for us on like the tours that we did, so that was really nice if we needed it. I even had a picnic outside in the snow.
Look at that.
Yeah.
That's wow. That's awesome. Well, Norway will now be high on my bucket list. That will be for sure.
Mhm.
Awesome. I can't wait. And is there anywhere in Europe while you were there? Of course, because there's so many places you can't go there. You can't go everywhere. Was there anywhere that you went that you're now saying to yourself, like, oh, I didn't get to go there when I was there, but I'm gonna go back as soon as I can? Is there like a place on your bucket list that you're like, that's the next place I'm going to when I get the chance?
That's hard to say because I went to like almost all of the big ones. Other than Norway and like Scandinavia over there, I would say I would want to see more of England because I really only got to see London and I was only there for 24 hours, so it wasn't this whole great experience.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to go and see more of London, or not London, more of England. And I would also like to see more of Scotland. Scotland was another really cool one that I saw.
I think I knew somebody who I met in Budapest who went to Scotland. She did like a solo trip there. Her Snapchat photos looked so gorgeous.
They are. Or Austria. Austria would be probably the one place that I haven't gone to that would probably be on high on my bucket list then. Thinking about that. Yeah. Everything there, I've seen other people's pictures, like everything is picturesque. Like I want to go.
Awesome. Couple trips. You can go. You can drag Jared maybe.
Yeah.
You're like, we're going.
For sure.
We're going. So this is just out of curiosity. So whenever you guys decide to go on like fun trips all around the country with your dog, oh wow, what is that?
My water.
Oh my god, that's great.
Yeah.
That's impressive. So like with your dog, do you have like somebody you can gladly have them watch, like somebody to watch the dog while you're gone?
Yeah, my parents.
Okay, sweet. Sweet. With my new dog, I'm in the process of thinking like when everything gets back to normal, where am I going to drop her off?
Right.
I got to think of that because my sister has 4 dogs, but they're all men, and they're only sociable with each other.
Mm-hmm.
They don't like any other dogs. Like if another dog comes in the area, they bark at it. So I can't imagine how it would go if I just left my baby girl there for a week.
Maybe you want to introduce them first, and then they get used to each other.
Well, they met each other actually last week, and it
didn't
go well. It didn't go well.
They have to get used to each other. My parents have a dog, and Milo hates their dog, but now he's kind of used to her. She's still just as annoying, but if she gets too much, he'll like nip at her, so it works out.
Awesome. It's like any other. It's like people per se. Like after a while, you get to know people. I guess dogs sometimes are dogs. So, but
Sure.
I know once everything gets back to normal, I'm trying to fill up that passport again, and can't have her coming, so I got to drop her off somewhere. But that'll be a bridge for me to figure out when I get there. I'm just saying that just because you have a dog too, so I know you can relate. So.
You could take her to a doggy daycare, but there's other dogs there too. But that's what. What was that?
She would love that. She'll be in heaven. She loves other dogs.
Oh, that's good. Milo doesn't. Well, he does, but then he acts weird around them. I don't know.
And for your work, so I remember you mentioned to me that being a translator for an insurance company. So how is your Spanish now? Out of curiosity, I assume being a translator, you're somewhat using it. Is it at the level that it was when you came back from Spain and graduated, or how is Spanish going for you right now?
Oh no, it's way better. I hadn't been speaking Spanish for too long, for almost a year when I got this job, and I let them know that, but they still wanted to hire me because they need Spanish speakers. Mm-hmm. I actually speak directly to the customers. I only sometimes have to translate for agents, which is difficult at first. So I was like, I don't know how to translate these words, but now I'm like pretty proficient in at least auto insurance. So yeah, if you try to converse with me like conversational Spanish, I kind of need to think a little bit. So I'm not so good at that anymore, but
gotcha.
But yeah, my listening skills are definitely way better, so I can figure out what you're saying. Just sometimes I think the hardest thing is thinking of like, how do I reply back to this sometimes?
And so I'm just curious. So as a translator, and then when you tell them what to say, so say if you're working with the agent, whatever agent it is, you translate for them. Is it then up to the agent to decide what to do? Or is it per se, like, do you have an intake on like, I translated for you, but now here's my advice on what you should do, per se? So how does that?
I'm just translating word for word what each person is saying, and that makes sense. Or at least I try to. But sometimes we're supposed to say it word for word, but I'm like, this is too much work. I'm just going to get the gist of it, because most of our customers on the Spanish side are Mexicans, and Mexicans like to talk. So they'll like repeat themselves multiple times, and I'm like, well, this is what they said, and I just make it to one sentence.
Yeah. Efficiency.
Yes.
Efficiency. I love it. And now, were you working at all in the office with this job before the pandemic, or was this mid-pandemic when?
I was in the office, so I just got this job in January, and then I went to Mexico in March, and then I came back, and everything was crazy. And then I was like working from home a couple weeks later. And it's crazy to think that was almost a year ago now when it all started.
Oh my God. What are we now, in February 2021?
Yes.
Holy crap.
No.
Man, we're approaching that year. Like, I feel like we've already crossed the year mark of like when it somewhat got here. And
yeah,
we're now approaching the year mark of when like panic set in. in like March, the third week of March.
Pretty much. And now it's just kind of like, it's just kind of part of our lives now, and we just wear masks when we go somewhere.
Yep. And then eventually you get the vaccine.
Eventually. Yeah, I think I'll be like one of the last people to get it, because I'm working from home and I don't really need it for my job.
For sure. But I always love when I hear that people are somewhat sticking with their Spanish, or if like they have kind of work that are like they're sticking with it. But with you, that is your job, so you get better at it. And I think it's just really nice. Like I'm happy that I can use Spanish at my job. And now that I look back at it, I should have used it as like leverage to like get some extra dough, but that's okay. That's fine.
Fine. I get an extra $1 an hour being Spanish speaking, so that's nice.
That's awesome. That's great. And you can totally use that to your leverage, because that's a skill. It's a skill. Literally.
It is. It really is.
That's awesome. That's great. So and outside of work, do you get to practice it at all? Do you get to practice speaking Spanish with anyone else, or is it mainly like you get your practice in for the day?
Yeah, it's just at work, and by the end of the day, I don't want to be thinking in Spanish or talking in Spanish. At first, like if it's back-to-back calls, my jaw starts to hurt because I'm not used to speaking Spanish all the time. You know, like used different parts of your mouth, so it gets tiring. It used to be more mentally exhausting in the beginning, but now I'm more used to it. And sometimes I get flip-flop between English and Spanish. So that was very daunting at first, but now it's just like, oh, now I got an English call. Okay.
That's sweet. That's sweet. Well, I'm happy that it's continuing with you. I'm happy that you're keeping it going. So backtracking a little bit with the math major, that intrigues me. So because I think you're the only person I know that has blended that mix off the top of my head. How was that with balancing those two skills of studies? Because those are two very different parts of the brain. You're focusing on critical thinking on one side, and then you're focusing on like the other part where you're learning a language. So was that always like a headache per se in college, like working really hard, always thinking critically and learning? How was that balance per se of those two majors?
It was horrible. I couldn't have picked the two worst majors that were coursework dense in my life. And the more I got into it, I was like, why did I choose these? I would say Spanish was easier, and I enjoyed that more because I got to go to Spain. And I think more throughout college, I realized that I like speaking Spanish more, but I also still really enjoy math. And once I got deeper into math, I was like, maybe I shouldn't have done actuarial science, because it was just, it got my last class that I had to take for statistics. It was just like, oh, wow. I was like, I didn't enjoy it at all. Like, calculus, sure, that's great. Calculus is good, but I enjoyed the first semester of statistics, and second semester I was like, I don't even know. My brain was fried. I suggest not doing that, but it is rewarding. But you do have a lot of homework for both. So it was hard to juggle, and especially because you need to keep taking at least one math or one Spanish every semester, so that you're keeping up with it and you don't lose it. And they're both ones that if you don't use it, you lose it, literally. So like right now, I bet my math isn't that great because all I'm doing is speaking in Spanish. So, but a lot of the math jobs these days, you seem to just use a computer. So as long as you know what you're doing, it should be fine. So if I get a mathier job in the future, which I'm kind of looking to a little bit because my brain's tired of Spanish, but also I'm like, I know once I do that, I'm gonna miss Spanish. So I'm also hoping to find one that could kind of correlate both, which is a little bit difficult, but it could be possible with the company I'm at now. So
for sure, and at least you have both. At least you have like both in your side pocket, and what nobody can ever take away from you is that you graduated with both degrees. So
nope, I didn't. I graduated.
you could say that all that stress amounted to at least the success of saying you did it. So.
Right. I was extremely happy on my college graduation day. I was like, I did it. And my parents just weren't as ecstatic. I think they're more excited when I graduated high school. I'm like, this is a bigger accomplishment. Why aren't you as happy? I was like, high school. I was like, oh yeah, I graduated high school, and then flip flops. I was like, I have 2 degrees. Come on.
This is a big deal, guys. This is important. That's awesome.
But yeah, I still enjoyed my graduation. So
perfect, and you deserve it. You deserve it. You worked hard. So speaking of graduation, you graduate, got your degrees, and then you did something fancy right after that, literally the day after. Let's talk about that too. So now, is this the same China trip? Because I remember that I went to like one of your WSA presentations back in Spain. It was like later towards the semester. This is like going way back when. And I remember you were mentioning about looking into a China internship or a China study abroad. I don't know if this is the same one, and this is like going way back. But essentially, when did that start? Looking into that China study abroad, and what made you want to do that the day after graduation, basically?
So I guess I really got to know the ladies up in the study abroad office, and then I would always be like looking at study abroad options, and I was like, oh, I think I need to do one more study abroad, and I was like, they were like, do China, it's cheap and it's short. I'm like, because I know I wanted to do a cheaper one and a shorter one. So that's basically where that came from. And I didn't want any more student loans. So I worked really hard to pay that one all out of pocket, which was really hard. But then I also almost went to Nicaragua, but then that got ruined with the political unrest. That one would have been another cheaper one, and that one would have only been for 2 weeks. So I'm a little upset that one got canceled, but then also that money for that one went towards China. But it just kind of, because I was always studying abroad and going to the office and like going to the fairs, I wanted to do more, and they're like, oh, you should do China. And I looked into China, and I had a business minor, and going over there was like a business project, and it's like, that'll be good for my resume. So I did it. Literally the day after I graduated. Well, I went and hopped on to China.
And where were you in China? Like, what city were you at? And were you studying specifically, or were you doing studies when you were in China?
We did like a research project.
Okay.
And funny enough, I did a research project for the vehicle types over there. And now I find the irony in that, because I didn't think about that before. But for most of our stay, we stayed in Guilin.
Okay.
We started off in Beijing, though, and then we ended in Shanghai. And then while we were in Guilin, we did a few trips to Longshuo and Longshan. Yeah, Longshuo and Longshan. And then we also kind of went a little bit all over Guilin, I guess, kind of. Wow. And Guilin's it's a nice city.
You're my hero. I look up to you. I mean that. I really do. Wow, so much wealth of knowledge and experience. Now, did you go to the Great Wall when you were there, or was that the second time? Did you go back? Did you go back there? Or?
No, I've only been to China once.
Okay, because I was thinking of the photos that you took a while back that you put up of China. I was thinking of those. No. Or was it not those photos? Did you not go to the Great Wall? Or am I thinking?
I did go to the Great Wall. That was like one of the first few days we were there. China's very mountainous. You wouldn't think that, but it is. There's a lot of karst mountains there, where it's just like a random mountain, and that's it. And then there's another one right next to it. So it's just like lumps everywhere, like big lumps. But it's very pretty. But yeah, I did go to the Great Wall.
How was that? How was that experience, seeing that?
It was really cool. It wasn't as unbelievable as seeing the Eiffel Tower, but it was still pretty unbelievable that I was hiking it. But also, like, I was actually like hiking it, and it was over 100 degrees that day. So I was also like trying to stay hydrated and not die and climb all the stairs. So that was fun.
Yes. And then I'm sorry, I cut you off. Keep going.
And then we got a nice ride down on like bobsledding carts, kind of, but like summertime ones. So that was really fun.
Oh, sweet. Wow. And I was just gonna ask. So what was I gonna ask actually? How was it altitude? I know nothing about like altitude there. Was it like normal altitude, or?
I don't think so. I was very bloated and inflamed, at least my first week there, week and a half. And then I got food poisoning, and then it went away. So that was nice.
Oh.
Yeah, I got food poisoning.
Okay.
But I was miserable, but after that I was like, oh, now I feel better. I'm not as bloated and inflamed, and like my shoes fit again. It's just nice.
Okay. Amazing. So, okay, I'll keep that in mind whenever I go there.
Compression socks, because I was like, oh, I don't need compression socks, but I think half of it was the flight and going over there, and that was my longest flight, and I should have got compression socks, because I was like, I think I'm gonna get a blood clot. And then of course one of the girls talks about how recently someone got a blood clot and they died, and I was like,
oh yes.
So yeah, another big tip that I didn't know about until I went to China is ice and get compression socks so you don't get blood clots, and check your legs after a flight.
Was that just a straight shot there, like direct flight from Wisconsin to China?
No, I think we went somewhere on the East Coast and then all the way No, we went the other way. No, because we went backwards. We went, I think there's 2 flights. I can't remember exactly, but I think one might have been like a bigger airport. Maybe we went to like Minnesota, or like maybe we landed somewhere in Canada. I think it was in Canada.
Oh,
And then we went from Canada to China. The other way around. Like going towards California. Yeah.
yeah, okay, that's what I thought. Okay, sweet.
Yeah.
Sweet. And what's that? So of course, I'm familiar with like the 6-hour time zone difference. What did that feel like? That time zone difference of like basically like a whole half a day. Did that hit you hard when you got there? Or
I don't think it hit me hard because I don't know, the flight kind of helped me get there, I guess. I always try to use the flight to get me accustomed to the next time zone, but it was difficult trying to like talk to my family or talk to Jared while I was over there, because I would have to like talk to them when it was really late at night for them and I had like a break in class or something, or I just got done with class for the day. So it was just kind of hard to do that because it's just like night and day from there
for sure.
to here. Yeah.
For sure, absolutely. So that sounded like an experience. And you made it out. So that's good. You came back.
Yeah.
And so you come back, you finish your 3 study abroad trips, conquered the world essentially. So much more to conquer still. I asked you this with Europe. Outside of Europe, is there anywhere next that's on your radar? Anywhere, like any continent wise, or any place once this pandemic's over that like you really want to check out that's on your bucket list?
My next place that I really want to go to is Iceland. But I would also like to go to Nicaragua, because that was going to be a really cheap trip that we were planning on doing, and that failed. But I would say Iceland right now.
Okay. You should give a peek to the last podcast video I did. His name's Isaac. He was there, and the last 20 minutes he talked about Iceland and like what the trip was for him. So
I was checking on it, but I didn't check it like this whole week, and I was like, when is this next podcast? And of course it comes out on the week I wasn't looking, but
yeah,
I'll definitely have to check that out.
Yeah, Iceland. I wanted to go to Iceland. There were so many places, of course, I wanted to check out when we were in Europe, but Iceland's like top priority. My top priorities right now are Japan, Iceland, and now Norway. Norway bumped up to number 3. So
yeah, sure. You should definitely go to Norway. Yeah, Jared wants to go to Japan or Nepal.
Okay.
So Nepal, because it's really cheap over there. Mm-hmm. So
is Nepal where Mount Everest is? Is that where like all those climbers go?
Near there. I'm not sure. I think there is a really big mountain over there that people will go to climb.
Okay. I know it's somewhere near India. I'll look it up later.
It's probably area.
Look it somewhere up later. But that's awesome. So, well, once this is all over, I'm excited for all of us to get back to traveling. That's what I miss more than anything.
For sure. Me too. So right now we just kind of have to like just travel within the state, and we've been doing a lot of hikes, I guess, and just traveling to like other neighboring states. Like in April we're going to go to the UP, and then Alaska in July, so it's just kind of like traveling within your own country or with your own state right now, if you can anyway.
Yeah, if that's even a possibility. Let me know how Alaska is. I met a Peace Corps volunteer. She was from Alaska. She was in my group. She said that it's like the hidden gem. There's like so many beautiful mountains and so many beautiful places to check out. So I hope you find some really cool stuff while you're there when you're in Alaska.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm going to go to Denali National Park. I've already decided that. So
it's happening.
It is.
Good. Got to make some free time. So that's exciting. Well, you're great. I hope to get to that level of greatness and that level of being able to go to so many places. I appreciate having you on. You did such a good job, and you're so great. Like you're traveling and everything.
If you ever want traveling tips, or if you want ideas, or you want me to help you plan something, I would totally be up to that. I love planning trips. And if anyone watching this wants to reach out to me, I would be like ecstatic to help you.
For sure. Maybe it's like a side gig. You could be like you do own your own traveling agent business. Do
I
something
know.
like that.
I feel like I should be a traveling agent because I love planning trips, but the travel agents now just kind of plan trips to resorts, and I'm like, that's not like my thing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's much more business-esque and like what like is known rather than like the gist, like the real traveler, like that not the authentic experience, but like you're doing the things that most people don't do. Whereas travel agents, most of them, they're saying like, this is where you should go, and here's the itinerary.
Yeah, or they make it like easy trip planning, I guess. Like it's just buying your flight and buying your stay at the resort, and if you want to do trips on the resort, you can do that, but it's even more money.
If you do, I just thought of this up in my head. If you do go to Nicaragua, let me know, because one of the Peace Corps volunteers in my group back in Peru, he was supposed to go to Nicaragua, and then he got evacuated from the Nicaragua group because of the civil unrest. The same thing that ended up stopping your trip.
Yeah.
It was 3 months right before we went to the Peace Corps. So then he ends up coming with us. So, but he was there. So I also have somewhat of that network wealth of knowledge with things. So likewise here, I know a few people that have been a few places.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a network of people like all over the world now.
Absolutely. And that's my favorite part about traveling. I think that's why I love doing this, because it can connect not only like who I know, but also it's connecting other people through the podcast. So
fun fact, if you get a visa for China, it lasts for 10 years. So you can go over there for like as many times as you want in 10 years. And I have friends over there that want me to come visit them. So I'm sure that'll be a trip in the next 10 years.
Now, is this like the visa that you got from the 1 month you were there? Still last? Holy shit. That's amazing.
Yeah, I think they really I think they do like 10 or 15 year visas, or maybe 10 to 20. Maybe it'll change with the pandemic, but as far as I know, mine's still 10 years. But granted, I kind of lose a year of that, but I wasn't planning on going to China right away afterwards. But yeah, I mean, if you want to see China and you can't afford all of it right away, well, once you get over there, it's cheap. It's just a flight to get over there, but it'll last for 10 years.
That's amazing. That's a great tip to leave everybody off with. So I appreciate that. We like to spread knowledge here, so that's great. So thank you so much. Did a phenomenal job, and by far I enjoyed having you on the most, for sure, just because of everywhere you've been. So I appreciate you very much. I said that 10,000 times, and I can't say it 10,000 times more.
I feel like I have more to say, but for time's sake, I just love talking about travel, so I could keep going on. So
for sure. Once this becomes much more like up there, higher up, and things like that, we'll get you on a second time so we can talk about all the hidden places that you've been, second places, stuff like that.
I would love that.
For sure. But thank you so much, Krista. Unless there's anything else you want to let us know, we can officially log off and wrap this up.
There's lots of things, but I'll let you wrap up.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoyed our podcast, and I will talk to you soon, Krista.